Tode Johone, Clinton, Johoti Card, Topen Nutchet, Nahahuin, Kayapen Nutchet. Eight order Nietzsche that the Chiton is a corner near Radahatis, later 1868 and a bas ani be elia corni Kayatis, the other but lat and Chikaya and then Abichendo, a consistently. As the war in handed and in hat 2 years, showing at that tingo, but the pedo, the lead of the baker, she but that kept up as that, the sort of the Benasha 8 tingo, in the account of as Annie be at Nikaya, 28,000 square miles, and that's a call adult and shift. The last light, no cut and then she did Nini dog, Tardness, not deemed over Ash, Latness, not deemed a meal in these Nazi clean, Nani Hinago, Sako, Epitri, Esahoya, Hotata, Bekayahan, Hotata, 8 hours as a bagashki, in his distinct at the Zilla best, hard date. I don't the Hashin, the Tashin, Chinaha, the Hanodo, I don't hear Oscar the Hanodo, as late as dance Argo, the Hus Argo, is an honest up at Zili, yet the yacht at 8, not the Nancy that needed. I could aero Sabahates, the Higi Aroshi the co or Christo, Ishi Ashabasta, in North Catolis, Aro, a quadrilateral agreement, a Hatashi, a Slatin, Sana Hayeta, a Nahas Tuya, Pelagana, Yelahada, Estado, in the that is in Sada, a Hotasi Ginigi. 8 hot that then Adoyan and Africa 8 and net better Hadoni. A co a bear Ado don't get a leader eat that Nahat Adia a cock at Eba Nahol Zigo Banana Cado High the Togido the Nebekaya and they taught Hornligi a sneak doggy a sneak dog or 8 and net better the no bedates. Asian and Paul Piquet, Aaron, that Odo Soto, Thomas Walker Jr., Ado and Herman Daniels, A. Aja Itahina, Yenaz, Bishmas, and Ado Kododo, the president's office, A. Ancient and Leonard Sochi, Associate Lido Shito, Ado the DOJ, Ado the Legislative Services, that called Division of Economic Development, though. A co-eban date, Edo, a what up a date, though, and the Isna or date, a President Joe Biden, Donald Trump, but not a Bahanes. Now, a call January 13th, 2020, yet, the Department of the Secretary of the Interior under Donald Trump letter, issued the last chance of a quadrilateral agreement, a leader, I call Enish Hondo, Zinstati, Nene, Edit, Ion, Hotza, Adok, Ado, Stan, A. Leonard Sosi, RDC, Niado, Jahad, Z, Ado Shin, Kodo, A. Secretary of Interior, Dahnane, Stanigi, Deb Holland, A. Gisandad, Nishibandad, Nishigishi, A. Betanadol, Sosebetanadol, Tosto, A. Anshindot, Les Tohan Lenigi, Isned, a snee, though, Yindado, A. Good Edoshan, A. Band, I don't understand. Nas Chin, yes, the Hati, no, I don't know what it is. I don't understand. I don't know. They didn't have to have go eat that is called. I don't basically coincide was a cheat the A. That is called a thing, but I don't a transition in the education. Yeah, don't let that's the carcass the hot doggy as the Kistan Las Vegas as got options just lead it on the top here 28 Los Angeles where should just lead the even national paper and either Hashin so a yan skip Navajo Nation because nahan they in there that is a corner di Jonah aro do liyo aro do achan ade na samba kado chin kishin ido beha ta huis ago no samba kago behas ani be ya hala se jindo ala aro bedito aron deta bahat ni chonto aron deta do eda do ni be keen de do skido be keen ni actually been that is called aro kodo Jonah ebike di aro satona nish jin hade gete ndal gizo tasam de nilo benana shna de la called what yan that ido na nish hada the dot as aron the tasam but aro shna de ido de no Ada hotel Los Angeles do Las Vegas do shuya transitionana tito da no yenata egg and hini like it's the person and I don't get off at the nanny bleed a star 30,000 40,000 families in hini do chin kishing kishihata do total kishihata leader Ada abehata at the store edo ashin ben de nation dan zarda dan keta wheat kaya benina na gloshi benina chilta haldo ado topich dan za tonta hiki aron that conte job daily nani ben nash in is that is the creed ben nash care or is betri ishta hat kehwit niki what end di to aje bikinat shni hakat even kinana shidel edo Jason John Water Resources Department is on end never kaya Chicago Bishna Butler Nast Aiden is not dean it does around the cage bed that is still back 18 the million stop on is not that is Aro needs confis beta husband Sahadon does the hatchon Aro Sahada is in the day cage is which Japan de Kado Bedian de Kado in Dalia Aro Hashin or Hashine not for it Jonah 8 Aro Testa Barnas and the 8 Vishna but yes, you don't have to deal, yeah. I call egg a stop and so a base of but a bed at all the different parts a cut the alia and days the doshi a hold on and a been up in a dish. A cut a lesson I don't understand the torgi banished and late the cheat that a added tohad or that is in Sabi Gito, Beshi coincide, Nes Tizay wasn't there, 8 hours at the top of or the dot and the sun. Ada Eben days, Nish 8 Togi, a Western pipeline on Diego. Ada article, but at the way the Kuchuko Tolene, digital 8 Totona, 8 and the Topasiata lead or this. For isn't that substantial this. No, if it has any at least gene but the unnish are stand a patient they stand to the door say beats as a say gin high get it all the chi basic contact an edge a stand a talkie dot loss in the tona hadley I don't the baby todo I don't the shan't I don't lay put it next year we are taught lost not a bandit besa this is gene the dog a slatin over go a top has topa or nis la eight sagin ha get it a call SCG sagin ha get it that is called cadedo nanish indol hisa a call eight honkinas nalando a hat up and that eight height 8 but para bitte noch sida dann kito ni kont khata te khai sa ke ya pahat di bil khata de liala asbestos ko pahat no shin khata to sa ke sa anas miliki atan kito lestati ni bikita ni thoge da si de ni ki topakata is nele hanet now Koshikoto lost the Histot lost Pekashi Petocho the Tochitona Ado Ashikoto lost the net tope at that then Kuichiton the ye Pete Clanigito Yendan Sense Ado the belief but that the ton the ye a talking the high net settle don't you got lost Ado the shutter Ashiko back about a hot Sanjiko to ye back. It's a age but the never taught that then age was shut out lost a deep no a teacher band date and other water resources ye go to other and kito other water resources ye go band that was other Division of Natural Resources Department of Water Resources is a ye go not the that hala di kaya a car what to ashi dani ask it that then other gespeta has the Steel Nasja, Nasazapati, ne hope kinne, a kinne, the bike, yes, what Bahazanico, a cotaza, a concheda, quite a steak, I don't need kaya. Ado Kodok, a day nasty, gleed or nasty net, Ado, what a kaya. Kaya edo didn't say that she not what they don't that he taught out at and the tonics and topica idi. A quite edo lesson and die. Ado top and nash ado dark nan nas glossy the nanny ni lead ni bekashi ni hit the better hallo a kohane the dark and saban date in lay a cheese the art kohn ba I added the hotel conto ado the aside the millions kaya years in so dark at the dollar yes 8 Ado nas glossy, but I don't and shito not down na use it that cater delegator. Edo Yego bandate. I don't that Ajanas at Tonlin Ajata Hotel Conto that's a I don't need Kahagodo Yego band that is out the Nebekaya Ajagoshan and Arikines and Nado Aja NAPI Kaya do that. Now that ando but indeed lido but nature a cogito ashiko never kaya but car also so of the handle less than needs and Khan the hill little than needs and a court order base she that hockey add a question that she little cadet she better again she it is what up and I don't know close the Bebenaz sauce Diego Baffin Edo Sako the Bebenaz sauce with Abe that is Ado 800 quest 8 Division of Natural Resources. Machine Kisha need the Bebenaz sauce lay a Monday through probate but a chin they gave the nut a co Ebe Balas V Aron the Kota Yahanit do Could the babik in that, Nildonat chin and Linny Bidlak and dog, Tossa, could the day sodla. A coeshin she did, Edo, Bata Honi, Zido, Ben Day, Stone Hitch on the door. Ado, I got to Jean on the wash. Art in Hashi on so Navajo partition land of it. The Latina, the Bebenat sauce, I get Nakeda hat on. A co Edo. Late out or late out in Haisha and Hanahas and Hinahas. According to Naya, let's order although not Lendo soft hot soft. Look at check at the holiday, but the Bebenat sauce the Hallo. A call art Sheikh art and Nakeda has any the Bebenat sauce with Aunt Hodia. Edo Bande, Shannon, I don't know, Sinido, Ado. Nikis band that either door, Nikido and Kisto, what that aided all this. Other suddenly low. It that is gilly and shinny in that aid on a bent or jade or bear was it or yaro a potato. Shannon,
Thank you, Dr. Shabala. Honorable members of RDC, I'd like to establish a motion and a second.
Chairman, I motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you. Second by
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any questions or comments or Division of Natural Resources, Dr. Shabala? Sunantai, Naidos Kiddish. Atanya Hakushila. Thank you, Dr. Shabala, for your report to RDC. We'll go ahead and accept the report. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Callan was green.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels, excuse. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Shabala.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Next, update report from Navajo Nation Gaming Enterprise. Mr. Brian Parrish, you have the floor, sir.
Honorable Chairman Nez, sir, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Chair and members of the RDC committee, we forwarded an updated presentation deck to Ms. Shammy yesterday, and just wanted to make sure that everybody has received that document before we proceed with our brief update, sir.
I believe we did, Mr. Parrish, so you may proceed with your presentation, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you, sir. Members, again, thank you for your time. Page 2 of the slide deck is just a brief discussion outline, and we'll touch upon each of these key areas, and we're anxious to answer any questions that you may have at either during or at the conclusion of the update. Moving to slide number 3, we just wanted to share with our Oversight Committee leadership that NNGE opened 2 of its properties on Friday, the 19th of March. We opened Fire Rock and Northern Edge. The operating restrictions that we opened under continue to be the 25% maximum visitor capacity. We're operating under limited hours, so we open at 9 a.m. and we end at 8 p.m. Because the curfew is still in effect, and so we're honoring that requirement. Food and beverage service was approved by the Health Command Operations Center as for, excuse me, being limited to takeout or outdoor dining only. Our facilities really aren't set up for that, and the cost to be able to try to do that was prohibitive at this time. So we felt that it was very important for us to focus on gaming service and our safety protocols first, as opposed to trying to engage in food and beverage service at this point in time. We remain very focused on providing the safest environment possible. We have followed through on the restriction of Navajo Nation residents only. I'd like to take a moment and commend our security and our operations teams for doing a wonderful job here. They've received our Navajo Nation residents and guests warmly with respect. We swipe their driver's license and we record their phone number for contact tracing, and we've been admitting Navajo Nation residents only. Our team has done a very good job of responding to questions about that by non-Navajo Nation residents, and we've had very little pushback. We're again grateful for the support by our team and how they've executed. We want to share that we cannot remain under these orange level restrictions for an extended period of time. We are not able to cover all of the expenses associated with operating the enterprise. We have still not returned all of our team members and we still have not reopened Twin Arrows or Flowing Water. However, we are working very closely with the Health Command Operations Center, with IHS, Risk Management, NOSHA, Department of Personnel Management, in all areas to make sure that we are not only doing a superior job in the execution of our workplace safety plan, but that we're already preparing for when the approval is given to transition to the yellow stage of the Navajo Nation's reopening plan, which would enable us to operate at a 50% capacity, hopefully with little to no restrictions on hours. That would enable us to open Twin Arrows and Flowing Water, and then also open up our hotel and food and beverage operations. Under those restrictions, the gaming enterprise can be self-sustaining and can generate a profit by covering all of our expenses, as well as having some additional cash. This enables us to return all of our team members back to work and be in a position where we're able to be self-sustaining going forward. That's a critical point for us. Moving over to slide 4, this is just a reopening recap, just briefly. Again, the first 2 weeks, we continue to remain focused on superior execution of our workplace safety plan. I want to say a special ahehe to the Health Command Operations Center team, with NOSHA, with Risk Management, Department of Personnel Management, IHS. They have all been on site throughout the first week and a half of operations. They've even stayed after hours to witness our deep cleaning that we do after 8 p.m. once the properties close down. Again, screening of guests coming into the property has gone well. The patrons are pleased that we're open, and everybody is following the protocols. Our capacity at 25% for Fire Rock, that's 551 people inside the building, and at Northern Edge, 683. Those numbers would be inclusive of our staff. We've had hourly patron counts generally remaining within the 125 to 250 patrons per hour number, and that's been pretty steady throughout this first about 10 days of operations. Again, the food and beverage service, we have not been providing that. We do provide bottled water, but that's resulted in shorter visitation time by our patrons, which means it also reduces gaming revenue a little bit. But again, we're working with IHS right now on a review of our food and beverage operations plan, which includes our kitchen sanitation plan and our food and beverage policies and procedures. So we're looking to see if there are any ways that we need to tighten those plans up. And when we go to the yellow stage, we'll be ready to open up food and beverage operations with 50% capacity in our restaurants. It's been a challenge as we've been out to the properties. The team members are extremely grateful for the support from Navajo Nation leadership, for funding from the UUSB, Navajo Nation Council, and the RDC, Budget and Finance, have been extremely supportive, and we're grateful for that. We've been able to return about 60% of our team members back to work, but because we haven't opened Twin or Flowing Water, we still have a significant number of our team members that are not back yet. The state unemployment benefits during layoff of our team over the last 10 weeks, that's been inconsistent. A lot of our team members are reporting that they had significant delays in getting benefits, and some have not received unemployment benefits at all. That's been very disappointing, as we have, through our HR department, processed all of the applications and the verifications back to the states on making sure that our team members are receiving their benefits. So we're looking into this to understand why this may have occurred. Tentatively, we have a comprehensive 2-week review meeting scheduled for this Friday, April 2nd. It's not absolutely confirmed yet, but that's been the target date for our 2-week review with the Health Command Operations Center on our first 2 weeks of operations. We've been providing feedback back and forth to the HCOC, and we've been updating our workplace safety plan as we've made refinements and amendments. And that way we're ensuring that everything is properly documented distributed to our team so they can be trained to the new requirements, and that the HCOC is involved in the discussions about the edits. And then they also have a document to demonstrate that everything that we've talked about has been properly recorded and is being followed. Moving over to slide number 5, we want to provide a brief update on human resources issues. Our team member count has dropped from 1,180 down to 1,022. We're still at 82% of our team members are enrolled members of the Navajo Nation, but this 13.4% decrease in the workforce, primarily due to 170 voluntary resignations during the one-year closure. We conduct exit interviews with all the team members leaving. Predominantly, the majority of answers or reasons for leaving is to seek other employment. We have rehired some of those positions back. Those are the essential positions like security, maintenance, accounting, where we've had to have people continue to work during those periods. And as our business ramps up, we'll be looking at refilling those positions. In terms of COVID-19 return to active duty testing, prior to the reopening, we tested 997 of 1,022 team members. That was 97.5%. The numbers and percentages tested by business unit are listed there for you in the middle of the page. And we only had, out of the 997 tests, only 5 positive test results, which equates to a 0.5% positivity rate. Navajo Nation's positivity rate right now is 2.1%, so we're running well below that. We're at 25% of the nation's rate. Additional update on human resources on slide number 6. Team member vaccinations. We know it's critical for us to participate and support the Navajo Nation's very proactive vaccination program. We're very pleased to report that we've got 64% of our team members have been vaccinated with either 1 or 2, 62% have been vaccinated with the first or second vaccination. We've had 128 or 12.5% of our team that has said they want to wait, they're undecided, or they're potentially opting out, they don't want to receive the vaccination. We did reach out to our external public health consultants to identify whether or not that's a big number, a small number. How should we feel about that? Because we are being very proactive with our education program, and we've set a goal of a 90% vaccination rate. The outside public health consultants told us that the 12.5% was a low number, and that they fully expected that especially the undecided folks would be opting in for the vaccination, especially with the increasing availability of the Johnson & Johnson vaccination, which only requires 1 inoculation and not 2. As part of our workplace safety plan, we also have an every 2-week or biweekly retesting program. So even though our team members were tested before they returned to work, we also had them retested after 2 weeks. We've completed 413 of 1,022 retesting. Which equates to 42%. We've had a positivity rate on the retesting of 2 cases, which equates to 0.67. So it's up just slightly from the 0.5% positivity rate on the pre-opening testing, but a very small increase. We're pleased to report that our safety protocols are working as designed. Both of these 2 positive tests were detected as the result of the retesting. These people were asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. So they went through the screening. The screening, of course, didn't detect anything, but the retesting did. And so that component of our program is working well. Moving to slide 7, just briefly, we've got our opening and reopening or expanded operations marketing plan ready to go. Right now, again, orange stage is too restrictive in order for us to market aggressively, especially without food and beverage. But we can be stable at that yellow stage. Our concern is that recapturing players who've been visiting competitors for the past year, it's going to require incremental marketing spending above 2019 business levels in the first 3 to 4 months in order to return and recapture those patrons. We're ready to do that. We have an excellent plan. We've got the dollars set aside and we're prepared for that. It has been at a disadvantage. NNG has been at a disadvantage just because our competitor casinos have been open for an extended period, and that non-gaming entertainment venues, not only in New Mexico, but also in Arizona, have been reopened, and they are all aggressively marketing. The tribal gaming operations, especially in Phoenix, are aggressively marketing big broad-based promotions. Salt River, for example, a $300,000 giveaway of cash and cars for 3 weeks only in the month of March. So the business and the industry is getting back maybe too quickly. We believe that we're taking the right steps. We're being prudent. We're being extra safe. But our competition has a leg up on us at this point. On slide number 8, just a brief financial update. We've touched on the cash position. We are very, very pleased to report we did follow up, and we've been diligent in filing applications for the Paycheck Protection Program. We had to do this 3 different times because the applications kept getting rejected because of changing Small Business Administration approvals and requirements. We filed 4 applications successfully. 2 have been approved. We're eligible potentially for up to $4 million in additional Paycheck Protection Program funding. We have received approval of 1.3 of that $4 million. We have not received those funds yet, but those funds will go toward being able to cover payroll and benefits for our team when we can return everybody back to regular hours and have all of our staff return from layoff. The UUFB grant agreement, after being approved by Navajo Nation Council, it was executed by the Office of the President, Vice President. We anticipate receiving the funding tomorrow or Thursday or Friday of this week for the UUFB grant funding. Right now, it's approximately 35% of our team members are on layoff. That number is actually a little higher. It's closer to 40%. The transition to the yellow stage would enable us to return everybody, which is critical for us. The legislation that was passed to reopen the Navajo-owned and maintained roadways was a critical step forward. We believe that we're demonstrating that we're staying safe, that we are not going to relax, we are not going to get fatigued and let our guard down on our safety protocols, and that under the yellow stage, the gaming enterprise can be self-sustaining. Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the Resource and Development Committee, that concludes the update report, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Freeland.
Thank you. Second by
Keller. Second.
Honorable Begay. Any questions, comments? Nanda, Nadas Kiddush.
Chairman Keller.
Honorable Begay.
Chairman, appreciate the report from gaming. Can you reiterate the timeline of opening all of the facilities across the Navajo Nation? That's the first question. The second one, are we anticipating to submit another document funding request to the Navajo Nation regarding the anticipated funding of the next round of CARES funding. That will be my second question, Chairman. Ado dikodo ilnahaznaki job safety ki khatne akoko di halolia a lot of the things that we're dealing with the net the kha do kitnalde a lot of time they were contradicting what we say on the Navajo Nation. We're abiding by curfews, but yet we're luring people to travel, especially more than an hour or 3 hours, 2 hours away to get to these facilities. Last week, the council is ready to or have passed a legislation to reopen the roads. That took Jim Yahadzi and other variants being detected on Navajo. No. How extreme? I know he indicated Mr. Parrish indicated that the far most important is safety. No, how are they more effectively taking care of the patrons that visit each of these facilities? And how much we're talking about the capacity will be for 25% for each of the facilities. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay, for your question. Mr. Parrish, your response, sir.
Mr. Chairman, sir, thank you. Honorable Begay Jr., sir, thank you for your questions. In terms of transitioning to the yellow stage, of course, that hasn't been approved yet. We have our 2-week review scheduled for April 2nd. If by chance Navajo Nation leadership approved us to transition to the yellow stage at that meeting, it would take us approximately 5 days to prepare and return our staff to be able to reopen Flowing Water and Twin Arrows. Also open the slot parlor at the Navajo Blue Travel Plaza. If that date slips and it takes longer for that approval to be given, we will still need approximately 5 days to reopen all of the properties. In terms of the additional funding, if we're able to transition to the yellow stage within the next 10 days to 2 weeks at the very, very latest, we will be able to generate enough revenue and profit to be self-sustaining, which would mean that we do not believe we would have to come back to the Navajo Nation for additional relief funding. However, we did receive a meeting invitation yesterday from the Office of the Speaker stating that they're soliciting feedback and suggestions on capital needs and things associated with the American Rescue Plan and the new funding, the new relief bill that's been passed under the Biden administration. So the memo invites all of the enterprises to provide updates and suggestions and thoughts, especially since there's a 4-year window of being able to spend those monies rather than, like the 9-month that there was under the CARES Act. So we are appreciative of the opportunity to be able to participate in that meeting. We will be meeting with our board to put together suggestions on that. But again, right now, we don't believe that we're going to need additional CARES funding if we're allowed to transition to the yellow stage within the next 10 to 14 days. In terms of capacity, we reopened Fire Rock, and the 551 people represents the 25% capacity of the building, and that includes our team members. So we've roughly stayed right around 400 to 450 patrons. But again, our patron counts have stayed in the 125 to 250 range pretty consistently. So if we were to go to 50% capacity, that number would double to approximately 1,100. For Northern Edge, our 25% capacity number is 683. So if we were to go to 50%, that number would double, and that would take us up to just shy of about 1,400. Again, that would make a difference. We would see increases in probably the number of patron counts that are going up, but we have been diligent in executing our workplace safety plan to make sure that we're doing everything to keep everybody safe. We did reach out last night to Jordan Schermerhorn. She's an associate of Dr. Rebecca Katz, who serves on the COVID advisory panel for President Biden, along with Dr. Jill Jim. She's a Georgetown researcher in public health and an established academician and also a public health expert. We asked her questions about this UK variant, the Africa variant, and some of the other challenges associated with creating community immunity on Navajo, and also ultimately herd immunity, because we want to make sure the people being invited into the properties are protected. So we've got some additional information that we can share on that. Generally, it looks like the vaccinations that are already in place are very effective against the UK variant, not quite as effective under the South Africa variant, but that there's additional research going on to boost activity to strengthen either booster shots or other vaccinations in those areas. So we're just trying to stay on top of what's happening on the public health side so that we can stay educated and take proper precautions going forward to protect everybody. Honorable Begay, sir, I hope that answers your questions. Mr. Chairman, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Honorable Stewart.
Mr. Parrish, good afternoon, good morning, midday, and RDC colleagues and the staff. It's not in the Takudo, from the social media sites. Thank you for participating in our meeting today. This report, I want to say thank you for providing this report to us today, Mr. Parrish, and for the invite to the reopenings for both casinos. But I wanted to go ahead and ask a couple of questions to you. And one of them would be, in the report that you provided, you stated that there were some staff that were hesitant in getting, if I'm not mistaken, getting the vaccine, and knowing that we have a new variant out there now as of mid-March, but was advertised, or not advertised, but as publicly stated yesterday. So with that in this area, what are your thoughts on that, to make sure that the staff and the members that go in there remain safe to that area? The other part of that question is going back to your statement as far as the opening of not needing any more funding if you go into a next stage of being yellow. With that, I would put that on reserve. I wouldn't have even said that, because I know that there's going to be some delegates that are going to say, well, you stated this at this time, and you came back and you're asking for funding again. And just looking out for the safety of the staff and both the gaming enterprise, and also, there we're happy that they're glad. A lot of them were happy to be back at work. I went to the one here in Fire Rock, but there's also the fact that when I went through the check-in, I didn't go in with the council delegates in the back. I went in through the front, and I was watching people go in and observing how the staff were treating the customers there. And some of them, to come to elders, there are some elders that don't talk English. And when you ask them for an ID or tell them what it's for, they didn't really understand. And I watched that. So some staff, maybe it was just the way they speak, or it was because they were agitated. But, there were some that, I felt that they were kind of mean to our elders as going in. And then the other one is that, with that, if this is going to continue to happen, and I did, share on my social media, this is what I went through. This is how I went through the front, and I observed, the patrons at the machines and the tables, and it was safe to me. I felt okay in there, but I didn't stay in there too long as well. I made my rounds and saw a couple of constituents, and they asked why I was there. They thought I was there to get out. I just said, no, I'm here just to see what it's like, see what's happening and whatnot. But these are just a couple of things I want to mention. Is that comment that you stated, and also the vaccine, and then also to what is their pay like now? Is there like a carrot at the end of that stick that says, well, if you get vaccinated, this is how much your pay will be? And I know that we're going through these phases of reemployment and also rehiring too. So these are just some things I want to share, Mr. Parrish. But I do thank you for the report again as well. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Mr. Parrish, your response, sir.
Mr. Chairman, sir, thank you. Honorable Stewart Jr., sir, thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it. First of all, thank you for sharing with me that some of our staff maybe wasn't as patient or polite or professional as they should have been. I will raise that immediately with our general managers and make sure that if there are any situations like that they're immediately addressed. We understand that there's stress in these situations, but no matter what, there's no substitute or excuse for not being kind and patient, especially with elderly and our Navajo elders. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, sir, and thank you. Relative to the vaccination program, and we've got, as I had shared, there were about 128 or 12.5% of our team that are either waiting to get the vaccination, they're undecided, or some have just decided they don't want to get it. Again, we checked with these outside public health consultants to understand, is that a big number? Is it a small number? How do they feel about that? Are we getting in an extraordinary amount of pushback or not? Jordan Schermerhorn felt that the 12.5% would come down. She felt that the people that were undecided, as they learn more and hear more about people they know getting vaccinated, that they'll get a greater degree of comfort, and many will be much more willing to get the vaccination. Also, they felt the Johnson & Johnson vaccination, because it requires only one inoculation, was going to be very, very important. So she thinks that number is going to come down. We've set our goal of a 90% vaccination rate, and we're staying very upbeat and positive with that. We've discussed how to go about doing that with Dr. Fowler, with Navajo Nation Division of Personnel Management, and also with our board chair, Mr. Quincy Nate, who's the superintendent for the Chinle School District, and just trying to understand how these vaccination programs and things are being recommended and encouraged. So we do not have any type of incentive in place. We felt that wasn't the right thing to offer at this time. We're trying to inspire people and say, hey, creating community immunity on the Navajo Nation and within our team member ranks is not only good for the nation, it's good for you, and it's good for your families. And so we're trying to ask people to get in step and follow that. We're not forcing anybody to get the vaccination. We're respecting their wishes on that. I do want to share that IHS has been wonderful working with us. The Shiprock, Winslow, and Gallup IHS facilities have been very proactive in helping us schedule our team members. They're also vaccinating non-Navajo or non-Native beneficiaries, I should say non-beneficiaries, if you will, so that our team does have immediate access to the vaccinations. We're also letting them know they can reach out to their primary care physicians, but the majority of our team are going to the IHS facilities to get their vaccinations. So that's moving forward, and that's very, very positive. If we run into additional resistance, we would not rule out offering an incentive for people to get the vaccination. We have had some internal discussion on it, but felt right now that we were going to wait on that. So the key thing for us is just continue to focus on execution of our workplace safety plan, refine any of our protocols. We definitely have to make sure we're treating everybody with patience, kindness, and respect. And then we want to be able to get to that yellow stage so we can bring all our team back. Everybody is still on the reduced pay rate of 20%. And so we believe that when we can return people back, our full workforce back, we'll be approaching our board about reinstituting everybody's regular rate of pay, since they'll all be working and performing their regularly assigned duties. Honorable Stewart, sir, thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Resource Development Committee members. Mr. Parrish, thank you for your report. I guess my question really evolved around the compacts and NIGA. Are we still compliant with the state's compact? And are we having to look to submit any payments to the states for the compact payments anytime soon? Has the enterprise been notified of that? I guess I bring this up because if we have to do legislation to request to the states to, extend our compact payments, we can do that too. So Arizona and especially New Mexico, the compact payments are concerned. As far as your coin in and coin out and your revenue sources, have you seen any significant revenue, anything these first 10 days? And do you project anything if we stay on the orange status? Do you project any sort of revenue increases at all? And then relation to food and beverage, maybe since the floor is open, consider doing curbside. And I enjoyed going to Fire Rock on Friday nights for prime rib night. I was thinking of my younger daughter. I think if you do curbside, that might do it some revenue, and of course something's better than nothing. You look at Grandma's Restaurant, to-go orders only, or even in Winter Rock they have the Dominguez Restaurant, to-go orders only, or the Chinese restaurant there too. But just a consideration for food and beverage, maybe to put some cooks, your prep staff, maybe to work, and even some wait staff possibly. But Just something to consider. I don't know if you and the board have considered that as well. But my big concern, of course, is the compact. Where do we stand with the compact payments? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Mr. Parrish, your response, sir?
Mr. Chairman, sir, thank you. Honorable Freeland, sir, thank you so much for your questions. I appreciate that very sir, we are in compliance with our compacts, but we do have a current outstanding issue on the New Mexico side from our first quarter of 2020. So it's a year ago, and that's our revenue sharing payment. We closed on March 17th, so we were open for 10 of the 12 weeks of that first quarter. We have not made that first quarter 2020 revenue sharing payment yet to the state of New Mexico. There are some ongoing discussions among the tribes and pueblos and their leadership back with the governor's office. And so we can keep you updated on that, sir. We don't have a formal disposition on that yet. We believe it could end up being some sort of deferral for a period. We don't know that there's going to be relief from that payment. But of course, when we were closed, we made no payments. Now that we're reopened at Fire Rock and Northern Edge, we will have a new and ongoing responsibility to continue to pay revenue sharing. As it stands going forward during this recovery period, we are not aware of any discounts or reductions or deferrals there. That's still part of the overall discussion. But Honorable Freeland, we pledge to keep you and our oversight committee apprised of that so you know what's happening. Relative to NIGA, we're also in compliance with NIGA and NIGC, also the National Indian Gaming Commission. And so we're keeping everybody informed of our status of where we stand with things. Of course, on the Arizona side, we have our travel plaza operating, but not the slot parlor. So we've communicated with ADOG. They know that we're running the travel plaza itself, but because we have one facility license for the slot parlor at the travel center and also Twin Arrows, the ADOG would like us to open both properties at once. And when I say both properties, I mean Twin Arrows and then the slot parlor at the travel plaza. But we're in compliance with everything. We're working closely with NGRO on that. In terms of coin-in trends in things since we opened, I think what we're seeing is because it's Navajo Nation residents only and our more active players that really enjoy playing, they're the group that have come out and are spending more time at the properties right now. And so once we're able to go to the yellow stage and open up, we see that will be the opportunity to bring in more folks and then also residents who do not live on the Navajo Nation. And that'll be the opportunity for us to really generate incremental revenue. We don't see the numbers going up very much right now from where they are. The numbers are pretty good. We're not displeased with them, but the capacity with the curfew being in place, we have to shut down at 8. It makes it very, very challenging for us. In terms of food and beverage, we are doing a comprehensive evaluation there. And we've had our food and beverage division do some research. And sadly, and I think everybody's seen it at the grocery stores, but the cost of food has really, really skyrocketed during the 2020 period. For example, chicken breasts, they used to be 63 cents a pound. They've now gone up to $1.13. We've seen cost of freight go up 20%. We've seen all kinds of other substitutions and inavailability of different products that we use on a regular basis that we're not able to procure right now. So the food and beverage industry is going through a tremendous kind of upheaval in terms of how they're responding during the pandemic. And of course, many restaurants and food operations are transitioning to curbside and takeout. So we're going through that right now. We're having to evaluate some price increases, which we're trying to be very careful about. We don't want to price it so high that all of a sudden our food is no longer a good value to people. But right now we have to make some adjustments, reduce our menus, and be more efficient in food and beverage in order to make curbside or outdoor dining make sense for us. But we can assure you, sir, that we're all over that. We're very focused on it. And we have an update meeting with our board tomorrow night where we'll be offering to them our preliminary thoughts on our action plan. Honorable Freeland, sir, thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Honorable members of RDC, any other questions or comments? None. I will go ahead and accept the report. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Callan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chair, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. We're down to number 6 on the agenda. Old business, there's none. Number 7, new business. A, legislation 0052-21. I believe Honorable Vice Chair Smith is on the line. I did some, he is on the line. So Ms. Begay, could you read this legislation in for the record? Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. You have legislation. You have legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0052-21. The date on it is March 21st, 2021. Title of the resolution: an action relating to resource development, health, education, human services, law and order, Navigated Committee, Navajo Nation Council, amending Navajo Nation Veterans Trust Fund, Title 12, Subchapter 8, 12 NNC, Section 1171. The purpose of the legislation is, if approved, will amend the Navajo Nation Trust Fund to restructure the distribution provision of the Navajo Veteran Housing Program. The packet is assigned to Resource Development, Health, Education, Law and Order, Navajo Committee, Navajo Nation Council. Prime sponsor is Raymond Smith Jr. The legislation, you go to, I sent you copies of this packet. If you go to page 3, the first line 1 will read section 1171 establishment. On line 5, paragraph B is underscored. On line 10, as follows is underscored as new language. On line 11, paragraph 1 will read, as 1 is underscored, 1/2 of that is overstricken. The is underscored. 4% shall be transferred to the Navajo Nation Veteran Trust Fund to be used as set aside herein. Line 13, 2 is underscored. The remaining 1/2 of that is overstricken. The 4% shall be allocated to the Navajo Veteran Housing Program and is all underscored. Administered by an overstricken language Department of Navajo Veterans Affairs, DNVA is overstricken. Underscored as new language is Navajo Nation Veterans Administration, NNVA. Subparagraph A, the Navajo Nation Veteran Housing Program shall leverage the allocated funds, including match funding, in order to construct as many turnkey homes as possible for homeless veterans, as well as to provide major and minor home renovation and repairs. Subparagraph B, subparagraph A above shall apply to honorably discharge Navajo veterans without regard to age, gender, or geological location, as long as location is within the exterior boundary of the Navajo Nation. From line 25, overstricken language. Each of the 5 DNVA agency office shall be allocated an equal share of that amount to provide construction of up to 15 homes equitably in each of their respective agency using all possible assistance program funds that such veteran may qualify for, to construct as many homes as possible and provide minor home renovation and repairs for Navajo veterans. All of that is overstricken. On line 30, paragraph B, the annual appropriation authorized above and not expire is underscored as new language. Overstricken language is continue and for the purpose of this resolution, all that's overstricken and is underscored. Existing language, expended funds shall not lapse back into the Veterans Trust Fund. Overstricken language through fiscal year 2017 and shall expire thereafter unless specifically reauthorized. Overstricken. Underscored as new language, and shall continue to expend for the purposes of which they were appropriated. Those are the changes that are recommended by this legislation to occur in the Navajo Nation Trust Fund. Mr. Chair, and the other is that legislation was posted on the council website on March 24, 2021. 5-day comment period on March 29, 2021. There is no comments received, and it was assigned to RDC. Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Chairman, I motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Walker. Second by
Stewart.
Freeland?
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith, you have the floor, sir.
Good morning, Chinanda, Chado, the RDC members of the Navajo Nation Council, and those that are listening this morning. Good morning to everybody. Thank you for allowing me to present this legislation, 0052-21. As we well know that the Veterans Trust Fund, Title 12, is in order, but we would like to amend this so that the policy will reflect the appropriate code so that we could have veterans considered for housing, according to the strikeouts and the amendments that have put place regarding the 1/2 of the 4%. 4% was amended, and 1/2 would be used for the Navajo Trust Fund, and the other one would be for the housing. The page 4 of 5 talks about the Navajo Veteran Housing Program, which would allocate and leverage the funds for the homeless veterans and get as many turnkey to the veterans and make that possible for them to have a home on the Navajo Nation according to 2B, which is veterans that are within the exterior boundaries. And this would apply to male and female veterans and the geographical location. So this would help our veterans, and also in this would provide major and minor home renovations and repairs. There's a lot of veterans that do have homes that need repairs or renovation, and this would open a door for veterans that do have homes, and veterans that don't have homes is the main topic of helping our veterans within the Navajo Nation to have this opportunity to have a home. This annual appropriation shall not expire, and the expiration will continue, will allow veterans to utilize this funding for the 5 agencies and shall continue to be expended for the purposes which were appropriated. So therefore, I come forth to the first committee that's within order here, RDC. Next will be Health and Education Human Services, Law and Order, and then and finally the Navajo Nation Council for Legislation 052-21 on this Title 12, Subchapter 8, 12 NNC, subsection 1171, which gives the authority of the Navajo Nation Council to amend this accordingly to help with the Veterans Affairs and also veterans that don't have homes and veterans that do need repairs on the Navajo Nation. So I bring to you forth this legislation and looking for the support of the RDC and the whole Navajo Nation Council once it gets up at that level. And I do have my agent with me this afternoon, in regards to the 0052-21, an action related to the subchapter 812 NNC, subsection 117. So I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Zerline. Mr. Zerline is here with us. He can present this accordingly. Thank you, Chair Menez and RDC members of the Navajo Nation Council.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith, for that. I'll give the time over to your agent, Mr. James Swerline. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair Nez, and thank you, Vice Chair Smith, for the apt description of this legislation, and always for your advocacy and support on veterans issues. This legislation is the last piece of legislation that the Veterans Administration requires in order to be able to restart the Veterans Housing Program. There are conflicts within the original legislation that amended the code that we are trying to resolve through this amendment. One of those conflicts is our ability to evenly distribute the funds based on the realized costs of construction. When the legislation requires that each of the 5 agencies receive an equal share, that limits the number of homes that we're able to build within each of those agencies. For example, if the allocation is $5 million within a fiscal year and each of those 5 agencies receive an equal share of $1 million, and our average cost of construction for a home is $200,000, we would be looking at building 5 homes per agency per year. Our realized construction costs within an agency, we'll use Eastern as an example, may be $190,000. Our realized costs for construction in Western agency are very likely to be closer to $230,000. When we do the math, we're able to build 5 homes in Eastern agency, but we are not able to build equitably in Western agency and can only produce 4 homes. So it is our hope that by eliminating the distribution requirement evenly and allowing the program to operate under one account, that will help us to be able to build equitably across the agencies based on where the need of the homeless veteran population is, without regard to quotas by agency. With that, I think Vice Chair Smith was very adequate in his description of the legislation and what the program is asking for. And the Veterans Administration does thank the Vice Chair again for his time, and the members of the Resource and Development Committee for your consideration in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you there, Mr. Shoreline. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any questions or comments? This particular legislation will go next to Health, Education, Human Services Committee, and then Law and Order, and then Navigate, and then the full council. So, any comments or questions? Honorable Gay, you have the floor.
Chairman, appreciate the legislation. To my understanding, this is more of a formal correction on this particular issue. Especially the veterans, or they're misinterpreting some of these language, or being misinformed. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I think it's very much effective to explain a lot of these legislation in Navajo, and a lot of us, I speak for myself, that we're more visual learners. A lot of time we really do we need to get back down to the layman's term or layman discussion on a lot of these area. For sure, I'll have more questions, especially amendment. Navajo Nation Council, but you could not recommend it all. So, would ask Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Gay. Honorable Vice Chair Smith, your response, sir.
Shinanda, Ajdasantaigi, Chairman Nez, Adoshache, Key Allen Begay. Good morning or good afternoon. Well, this Legislation 052-21 will be going through Hess and Law and Order and Nabikiat and Navajo Nation Council. Adashit Nabikiat in Yest Ednat no. Ashi Bohonit so Adashi Nadi Kitaholodo Dokas Hot Ai Sabina Dot Sotaza Abiga Adodi Nek Echo we had thought Ziggy Sanawit I Undo Cosminia. Dort Yaha and Yagi Yahan his last soul for one one Lanan Dinsen Ado Con who one paid out Lonigi Esto, Besochit Agi Yalaki Ben Ye Bendo Nisto Ebohon Etzango Eben Ye Condin his sad now with I in Getas Social and Adam Sunigi. Akudas no Sagi Ashurish Kedan Sunigi. Did the night kitchen the Holodo. Munache ebe ahadozil eben na kun hitasis sos diskidan sana huit ai atonak asto benina howan ai sit huye beninanigi ita howan talia howan ai siat zadalia do sinischito alebe howan do nisigi ai sito ahazenda to ajda howan adol nisigi to ajde zgato Kenhas Tindo in Chi Yes has Nido Beninanigi or one bed or Nisiki Dutch home. Kodi Didigi Ayaha Hajot Benach Ayaha Be Ados Nito E Behez Anik Iskito Behez Ani Behalondo Chinanda Einako Diden Hidasit Sos. Ade at the Shanand Hela, the chair, Nesdo, the RDC members, and Osenigi. I turn the floor back over to the RDC members.
Kushina, thank you for that. Honorable Vice Chair Smith, honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? If not, we'll go ahead and approve this legislation 0052-21.
Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, you have the floor.
Sorry, I was muted. Just a quick couple of questions, Chairman. Honorable Smith and Mr. Zwerlein, thank you for the legislation. Staff. Just a question related to the advisory committee. I do talk to Commander Toll, and what is their take on this particular legislation? And I do have 8 CVOs as well, and have any of the CVOs been responsive as well? I know they were to the initial legislation related to the comprehensive budget, but is there any feedback from the CVOs as well just to this particular legislation? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Vice Chair Smith, your response, sir.
The advisory committee accord and larger Mr. Zerline Mr. Zerline, the question that was posed by Honorable Freeland, could you respond to that? Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Zwerlein.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for the question. Contained within the legislation, there is a resolution of support from the Veterans Advisory Council. The Veterans Administration has not received any resolutions in support or in opposition from any of the CVOs. Currently, under the way the administration and the advisory council conduct business, any resolutions by the CVOs would go to the agency for them to act on. It is not standard practice at this point for the CVOs to send their resolutions directly to the administration. So I cannot speak at this time if there are any resolutions from CVOs from any of the 5 agencies in support or in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swerline. Honorable Freeland, do you have a follow-up?
Chairman, no, that pretty much sums it up, but thank you, Mr. Zwerline, for answering the question.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, honorable members of RDC? None. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart? Honorable Begay?
Chairman.
Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green on the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Daniels, excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
RDC members no snigi hela zudin sa dishi nasi skesto shkao chehtide na che ha the dot so como the navigation council but that so ha nos caso shi sto yate shi bonitsa ako ni heti ni tahodon da ya shule skeda no ligados no snagi lede da wis out hela klasi ha kodole.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. Honorable members of RDC, legislation 0053-21 has been deferred. Legislation 0054-21 has been deferred, as well as legislation 0055-21 at the request of Honorable Carl Slater. Next on the agenda will be legislation 0056-21. Honorable Charlene So, are you on the line? Honorable Charlene So, are you on the line? Going once.
Hello, Shiash. This is Delegate So.
Akushila, Ms. Begay, could you read this legislation in for the record, please? Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, you have legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0056-21. The date on it is March 25th, 2021. Title of the resolution, Proposed Standing Committee Resolution. An action relating to resource development, approving the Red Mesa Tabaha solar project lease for the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to construct, operate a solar generation for Red Mesa Tabaha solar project, Red Mesa chapter, vicinity, Navajo Nation, San Juan County, Utah. The purpose of the legislation is to approve the Red Mesa Tabaha solar project lease between the Navajo Nation and Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. This legislation, RDC, has final authority. Prime sponsor of the legislation is Delegate Charlene So, co-sponsored by Honorable Seth Damon. Tracking number 0056-21. An action relating to resource development, approving the Red Mesa Tabaha solar project release for the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to construct, operate a solar generation for the Red Mesa Tabaha solar project, Red Mesa chapter, vicinity, Navajo Nation, San Juan County, Utah. Be it enacted, Section 1 authority. Pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501B2, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council has the authority to grant final approval for all land withdrawal, non-mineral leases, permits, license, rights-of-way, surface easement, and bonding requirement on Navajo Nation lands, unrestricted fee land. This authority shall include sublease, modification, assignment, leasehold, encumbrance, transfer, renewal, and termination. Section 2 findings. A, the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority seeks approval of the Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project lease attached as Exhibit A, which includes a sublease for a portion of the land for the consideration and operation of 70 megawatt solar generation facility related to facility and access road that connects to BIA in 5062 for the Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project located in the Red Mesa chapter vicinity, Navajo Nation, San Juan County, Utah. B, the proposed Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project lease contains 700.09 acres, more or less Navajo Nation, state of Utah, as described in Exhibit B. 550 acres are to be subleased to NTUA Generation Utah LLC, which is a wholly owned entity of NTUA. C, the Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project will address the energy needs of both NTUA and the 16 municipal members of the Utah Associated Municipal Power System, UAMPS. UAMPS has agreed to purchase 66 megawatts of the 70 megawatts for a period of 25 years. The remaining 4 megawatts will be purchased by NTUA and distributed by NTUA to serve customers throughout the Navajo Nation. D, a portion of the output from the Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project shall be utilized to service the Navajo Nation, and NTUA will have an interconnection facility to connect NTUA's utility system. NTUA's utility system is required to meet the federal reliability requirement established by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and North American Energy Reliability Corporation to operate a modern, safe, reliable electric system. E, the Red Mesa Chapter Resolution RMC-07-04 1519 attached as Exhibit C, dated April 15, 2019, supports the Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project. If the right-of-way agent has obtained a necessary consent from the affected land user, in parentheses, grazing permittees, which are attached as Exhibit D. G, the biological resource compliance form is attached as Exhibit F. The cultural resource compliance form attached is Exhibit F. Excuse me, let me reread paragraph G. Paragraph G. The biological resource compliance form is attached as Exhibit E. The cultural resource compliance form is attached as Exhibit F. The traditional cultural property, TCP, record is attached as Exhibit G. The biological survey report attached as Exhibit H, or Exhibit 11, I think it's what it is. H, the proposed Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project lease have been reviewed through the executive review document number 015806 attached as Exhibit I. Section 3 approval. A, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves lease and sublease attached hereto as Exhibit A to the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to construct, operate, and maintain Red Mesa Tabaha Solar Project as described herein. The location is more particularly described on the survey map attached hereto as Exhibit B. B, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby authorizes the president of the Navajo Nation to exhibit any and all documents necessary to effect the intent and purpose of this resolution. The exhibits that are referenced in the content of the legislation, they are attached to the packets that we sent you. Tracking section also sent you copies of it. At the very end, on page 113 of the 116 pages, on page 113, you will note that the packet was posted on the council website on March 25th, 2021. 5-day comment period ended on March 30, 2021. There was one supporting comment that came in from the state of Utah Navajo Trust Fund. One comment was received with a recommendation, Lucinda Yellowman Benali. Those comments are attached to the packet for your review. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this is back to you. I'll be going back on mute. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay, for reading legislation into the record here. Honorable members of RDC, I'd like to establish a motion and a second.
Chairman, I motion.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Second by
Allen.
Honorable Begay. Let me give the time over to Honorable Charlene So. You have the floor. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Benishment, honorable members of RDC, Shiyaj, Adonana Shiyaj, Delegate Begay, Adot Shazede, Honorable Freeland, Adonana Shiyaj, Honorable Walker, Adot Shazede, Honorable Herman Daniels, Akoyad and Hitashnidolis, Adon his staff, the benachant legislation ni dahin sozgi bachiansen ado a hehend the schnittlegi you really assisted me, and you guys provided a lot of assistance in getting this done, and we've been pushing this through, and legislation it's for the Red Mesa Solar Project, and this proposed project brings promise to the Navajo Nation, especially to the region that I do represent. The Red Mesa Solar Project will bring new jobs, and today with the unemployment rate at being close to 50%, the pandemic has certainly increased that number. 5 chapters. They're looking forward to this completion, and they're looking forward to the job opportunities. When this pandemic hit, and we've had so many families that reached out for all types of assistance, and we have many now that are ready to get back into the workforce. Many that are wanting to get some financial stability back within their households. And right now, with this opportunity, it's also going to help, with the financial burdens that many families are facing. Energy bills, utility bills. I have been really working on this with the help of NTU Way, and with this, the things that we're going to be focusing on too with this project, and the great outcome of this is the tax and land lease revenue that will be returning to the Navajo Nation. the $228,250 annually. Navajo Nation, it'll be going back in out of $6.9 million over the life of the project. From the sales tax revenue on the construction, $4 million. Out for the sales tax revenue on customers, $400,000. And there's also another important aspect to this project. Most of the power generated from this facility will be sold to 16 cities in the state of Utah. They are part of the Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, otherwise known as UAMPS. And this project will be an example of a positive paradigm shift here on the Navajo Nation. And for years, we have seen Navajo money leaving our boundaries. And today we've always been focused not only on the Glenagee 24th Navajo Nation Council, highlight the revenue, Navajo Nation at that heard la best on young man dehigi George at the we have one great opportunity to do so. He does have one going with Cameron, and I will support that as well. And right now, we just need to focus and open all of our attention to all the projects, and not only with NTUA, but with our other entities and enterprises, with the opportunities that they may present. With this project, outside dollars will flow back to the Navajo Nation to help keep electric rates steady and to help extend electric power lines. And with UAMPS, the purchase of the electric power will help the Navajo Nation prosper. And they even sent teams of electric crews to help the Light Up Navajo project in 2019. They demonstrated that they do want to help the Navajo Nation while purchasing clean energy for the communities. Appalachian homes that are without electricity, electric lines. There are so many possibilities and great outcomes from this project. My distinguished colleagues, as I said before, this is a project of promise. Once the facility is built, NTUA will be able to develop new infrastructure in the area, such as electric lines, water and sewage lines, broadband, and fiber lines. And when these utilities are in place, the area becomes a candidate for economic development. So with that, businesses tend to build where utilities are available. And we're trying to get a lot of these areas across the Navajo Nation to prosper. And it is my hope that the Distinguished Committee considers the benefits not only to the Navajo Nation, the Red Mesa region, but to the people who desperately need jobs. And I ask for your favorable vote to move this project forward so that the job fairs can be held to get people to work. And right now I will turn over the time to Arash, who will outline the project details. Arash, are you on the call?
Delegate So, yes, I am.
Thank you, Honorable So, for that. Mr. Malemi, you have the floor.
Sure, yes. Honorable Delegate So, Chair Nez, and members of the Resources and Development Committee and other colleagues on the line. My name is Arash Nathan Mwalemi. I am General Counsel for NTUA and also the agent for legislation 0056-21. And Delegate So, thank you for your for the words. I'll give a brief overview of NTUA's renewable energy projects so far, and then give specifics on the Red Mesa Tapaha solar generation plant. From 2015 to 2019, NTUA kind of went into our first foray into the renewable energy and solar generation area, and we built the first two utility-scale solar generation plants on the Navajo Nation, Kanta Solar 1 and Kanta Solar 2. That was emission-free energy that is created and consumed on the Navajo Nation. So what we do with the Kanta 1 and Kanta 2 solar generation plants, that green energy is actually consumed on the Navajo Nation. within our own electric system. The combined output or generation of power for those two plants is 55 megawatts. And just to kind of give you context of how much, what 55 megawatts is, that will generate enough electricity to serve approximately 36,000 homes on Navajo. With Canto 1 and Canto 2, it created, we had a job fair. So this is our first project, NTUA's first solar generation project. So we weren't sure how many people were going to come out for the job fairs. So with those two job fairs, we had individuals, Navajos lined up outside the Kayenta chapter house. Over 1,100 people attended those job fairs, and we hired 434 individuals for construction jobs. 90% of those jobs went to Navajos, and the total payroll for those 434 positions was $10 million for Canto 1 and Canto 2. We also created 3 permanent full-time jobs that are filled by Navajos. We also were able to provide 6 scholarships for those projects. So what we do, our general, I'll call it formula, but for every project we develop, we create at least 2 scholarships for the local community. So that's one of the benefits to the local community if a project is developed in their area. For Canto 1 and Canto 2, the sales tax on the construction generated $5 million in taxes back to the Navajo Nation. And NTUA, or the Navajo Nation through NTUA, are majority owners of the Canto 1 and Canto 2 solar generation plants. So we talk about situations where we have developers coming onto tribal lands and building a project. One of the challenges that many tribes face is they are not the owners of those projects. They might lease the land out, but NTUA, the Navajo Nation through NTUA are majority owners in the actual projects, meaning that they have the ability to, they have the majority of seats at the table, and they can decide how these projects are, how they will benefit the local community and the Navajo Nation. So Canto 1 and Canto 2 are majority owned by the nation through NTUA. And specifically going to the Red Mesa Solar Generation Project, the Red Mesa Solar Project will produce and create 70 megawatts of clean emission-free energy. 66 megawatts of that energy will be sold to UAMPS, Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, and the remaining 4 megawatts will be consumed by NTUA. And this is, as Delegate So stated, this is what NTUA believes this is a paradigm shift. And why we say that is we always talk about us Navajos going to Gallup, Winslow, Flagstaff, Farmington, and we take our money, we earn the money on the nation, and we spend it off nation. And the outside border towns and communities get the benefit of our work and dollars that we put on Navajo. This is the opposite, where NTUA is building the project on Navajo. We'll be paying a lease fee to the Navajo Nation. We'll be paying taxes for the construction, and we're actually selling the energy to an outside utility or outside association. And the revenues and profits from that sale will come back onto Navajo, and we'll use how we do is we use those revenues and profits to connect additional families with electricity and water. So that goes into part of NTUA's revenue. So it's kind of it's an opposite situation where we're getting money off Navajo and bringing it onto Navajo for the benefit of the Navajo Nation. Some of the benefits to the Navajo Nation and the Red Mesa community, the number of jobs that we anticipate to be created through construction is between 200 and 250. The projected payroll for those jobs is $6.2 million. So what we do now that we're a little bit more well-versed in these projects, we work with the local chapters and communities to host job fairs and make sure that they're involved in the process. So we'll do that with the Red Mesa community. The project will require infrastructure development in the area, and we're hoping that this will be an anchor tenant to promote economic development within the Red Mesa chapter. So what I mean by that is with every large-scale project such as this renewable energy project, you have to make infrastructure upgrades to support the high level of power. So we have to have more robust and stronger capacity in our electric distribution and transmission lines. We have to make improvements to our broadband in the area, as well as our water and wastewater systems. So as you all may know, for any economic development, you need basic utilities infrastructure. So we have enough infrastructure in the area through this project to act as an anchor tenant and promote that development. As Delegate So mentioned previously, NTUA is not getting any waivers or any waivers for payment, or NTUA will be paying a land lease payment to the Navajo Nation. We have negotiated and we have agreed to the Navajo Nation's assessment. So we will be paying $228,250 annually to the Navajo Nation, which is $6.9 million over the life of the project. So we worked with the Minerals Department, Land Department, Division of Natural Resources, Department of Justice, and I probably left somebody out, but we worked on that and we came to agreement on the rental payment that was assessed by the Navajo Nation. The projected sales tax revenue on construction for the Red Mesa Solar Project is $4 million, and the sales tax revenue for the customers that will benefit is about $400,000 as well. So that's an overview of the project. As far as specifics, NTUA has obtained all necessary approvals to have this packet in front of the solar lease packet in front of RDC, which includes the biological approvals, the cultural approvals, a chapter supporting resolution, and grazing consent that has been already obtained. So with that, we appreciate the RDC's consideration of approval of the Red Mesa Tapaha solar lease packet. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions on legislation 0056-21?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
This is Shami. When I was reading the document into the record, on page 2 of 3, line 26, I wasn't sure whether if it was a 2 or an H. I looked at the packet and the biological survey report is Exhibit H, and you will find that on page 69. Mr. Chair, just for the record.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, any questions? RDC has final approval for this project, just for your information. None? None. Donaidos Kiridaya. We'll go ahead and vote on it. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kellen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0056-21. Thank you, Honorable Charlene.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
I just right quick, if you'll allow me, I just want to express my sincerest gratitude to each of the RDC members individually. And thank you to NTUA for their countless hours and dedication in pushing this project through, as well as with all of the projects. Of course, thank you to each and every one of you.
You're very welcome, Honorable. So, have a good day. God bless you. Thank you. Next, legislation 0057-21. Sponsor, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Ms. Begay, could you read this into the record, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, again, this legislation was sent to you this morning when it came off of the 5-day comment period. You have legislative summary sheet for tracking number 0057-21. The date on it is March 25th, 2021. The title of the resolution is a proposed standing committee resolution, an action relating to Resource Development Committee approving a lease for the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to construct, operate the Cameron Solar Generation Facility located in the Cameron Chapter, Navajo Nation, Coconino County, Arizona. The purpose of this legislation is to approve the Cameron Solar Generation Facility lease between the Navajo Nation and Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. The Prime RDC has final authority on this legislation. Prime sponsor of the legislation is Thomas Walker Jr., co-sponsored by Honorable Seth Damon. Tracking number 0057-21, an action relating to resource development. Approving a lease for the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to construct and operate the Cameron Solar Generation Facility located in the Cameron Chapter, Navajo Nation, Coconino County, Arizona. Be it enacted. Section 1, authority. Pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501B2, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council has authority to grant final approval for the all land withdrawal, non-mineral lease, permit license, right-of-way, surface easement, bonding requirements on the Navajo Nation land, unrestricted fee land. This authority shall include sublease, modification, assignment, leasehold, encumbrance, transfer, renewal, and termination. Section 2, findings. A, the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority seeks approval of the Cameron Solar Project lease with a sublease for the majority of the land for the construction operation of a 200 megawatt solar generation facility and related facility with an access road that connects to Highway 89 defined as the Cameron Solar Project, which is located in Cameron Chapter vicinity, Navajo Nation, Coconino County. And that should be Arizona and not Utah. The lease is attached as Exhibit A. B, the lease covers 1,100.18 acres more or less as described in Exhibit B, which includes a sublease covering the majority of those acres for lease by NGI Cameron Solar LLC for the Cameron Solar Project. C, the Cameron Solar Project will address the energy needs from the Salt River Project, SRP. Cameron Solar Project was selected among scores of other projects under a competitive solicitation run by SRP for award of a 25-year power purchase agreement for 200 megawatts. As a component of Cameron Solar Project, SRP has agreed to utilize 100 megawatts of transmission of the Navajo Nation currently has the right to use. Chapter Resolution CAMJUL-11-18, number 6, attached as Exhibit C, supports the Cameron Solar Project. E, the right-of-way agent has obtained a necessary consent from the affected land users, in parentheses, grazing permitting, which is attached as Exhibit D. F, the biological resource compliance form is attached as Exhibit E, and the cultural resource compliance form attached as Exhibit F. G, the proposed Cameron Solar site lease has been reviewed through the executive official document number 015724, which is attached as Exhibit G. Excuse me. Section 3, approval. A, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the lease and sublease attached as Exhibit A to the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority for the purpose of construction, operating, and maintaining the Cameron Solar Project. The location is more particularly described in legal description and map attached as Exhibit B. B, the Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby authorize the President of the Navajo Nation to execute any and all documents necessary to effect the intent and purpose of this resolution. Again, all of the exhibits that are referenced in the content of the legislations are attached to the packet. This packet is approximately 96 pages. And you will note that on page 94, the Internet Public Review publication will show that the packet was posted on the council website on March 25th, 2021. And the 5-day comment period ended on March 30, 2021. And there was one comment received from Lucinda Yellowman Benali, and that comment is attached to the packet. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I also received a text from NTUA stating that they are in receipt of another supporting comment. And I asked them to contact or email the document to the legislative tracking section so that they will be able to forward that to the committee and also make it a part of the legislative packet. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, this back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Chairman Kellen.
Honorable Begay, thank you. Second by? We need a second. None die. Honorable members of RDC, we need a second.
Chairman, can I second?
Yes, sir.
I'm the sponsor.
You're more than welcome to some second. So,
okay, I'll offer that second.
Alabiga, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chairman, Ms. and the Resource and Development Committee members, colleagues, although our legislative staff, although I can't Mr. Begay for reading the document into record. This legislation is read into record. Although previously we heard the presentation on legislation for the Red Mesa community, similar solar project out there, and sponsored by our colleague Charlene. So, solar project, land lease. Equate a walkie digi 8 land digi a belas lego joko a solar project a bakawdorni solar project digi a shin yis not anfragi a 8 o ben kithan to ba konitsun e ya nanish adorle digi a large areko ado konda shin pedalka nan shigi a large a night asset nani kliniki nan stahatole la nanitsun hitne ndar nistole je a need nisto ba yel to benya jo ba initsun seko ado bol khagi a da shin peso benache adolne based on Dante Hille, non-Spishna and Neko, economic opportunities Halleko. So job creation and economic opportunities. Ishilta Nakaban Sokisto Lichtenson Shinanta. Although before I go any further, I have also NTUA, Mr. Arsh Moleme, as the agent for this legislation. I did invite Cameron chapter officials to the call also. I don't know if they're on the call. If they are, I appreciate their attention and their presence also. A resolution, chapter resolution, a bayasti the letter that represents their position, their support, and so forth. I believe those are in place. Also, the resolution and a letter of support coming from a chairman chapter. Although the Kaya it begins development lease Navajo Land Department, Land Administration. Aja Benanji Niko Kaya begins la go Kaya ani that ko Edo question yard Navajo Nation Jibitation data from this project, from this land lease. It's like $457,000 a year for the life of the project. Economic opportunities solar project basically in Tragon peso because law a Navajo Nation at edo it had the millions Nahako ishi into you edo solar project it a slado quit the Nahagoshin. What ego a peso be Nagi Nisole, quite they are economic opportunities. A question on the project, at our Beshmas, is 2018 Bahwind, Chairman, the Niana, the Naya Shifta. It Bahwind, had she what out Nista Neda. The Indian dark into you Edo no a shadow Trasha is lower Trashaho by Jensen Chairman just in a cat in the Trashaho don't they deep Bahwin in the Edo Beshon there Nakinaka so other last year a pandemic when a hole there. Diego Bahun Asalin or Kakunza Tenda, Yabaka Nana Asalin, a cohort, and they call a Bahon Egg, a Nata, a season, the Kokaya Hagi Esta, Wokichi, Doleto, Eben Nacha A had she, a Dahodon, a Banada Wind, Edo Lico, Shinanta. I could tell you the Yakodo, or large Giba Johanna Adolis. Cohort the net a job wings and be a cut Diego Benficis yet another go but large a adult she bake eat lagi in she now dot list Jonathan go could egg a citizen that eats and could a creature a could declare Kaya Haki Bella Leo Joko a edition non-national leader called Shanting, the city, basically, Adoda Ebe, Ado, attended called Ado Ebe that the Clito, Sago, Chong, Edo, the call. I could ego to big aholia, caution and do is Sargis and Hasi, Shas Twizani. I call Cameron, Ada, Nana, San Joholia. Although I quite horn, although the day the Holia, Ada Hashin Sokin Tra, Nadia Bahawan, she lived toward the bar does a coho, quite air with a has only arches, the Nenel, other has the uncle, a quite especially the question does quite na khadashi khadaholia ako at an sikha at an the kahwit ni especially that you did in signature ido la training either or the never card does ako di something is the basically a holia ko joko especially is to training the training either this jo quite again that is trago she nastigo the nil traffic ko je hasin ko ado jo is thousand into you and the enterprise and the non-spectacle and the nepisi ko ashin si at na chendo nasco the ne konkat ni gido the net kay ka don shit in Washington that ado ye later to this ye clado the ko I want to turn the floor over to Mr. Molemi, my agent for this legislation. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Mr. Molemi, you have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chair, this is Shami. Before you give him the floor, just for the record, I did receive a copy of the Cameron chapter letter, and it's signed by Charlie Smith, President. And the letter is dated March 30th, 2021. That's the document I referred to earlier, and I already emailed those out to you all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Gay, for that. Mr. Molemi, you have the floor.
Yes, Chairman Nez and members of RDC and other colleagues on the phone. The Cameron, so I won't go over the history of NTUA's overview, but I'll give you some specifics on the Cameron Solar Generation Plant and how it came about. So the Cameron Solar Generation Plant will produce approximately 200 megawatts of clean, emission-free energy. And the origins and how this project came about, SRP, the Salt River Project, conducted a competitive procurement process as part of the closure of NGS. SRP made I wouldn't say commitments, but they were trying to build renewable energy projects, and this was one of the locations that they were focused on. So they conducted a competitive procurement process. NTUA was shortlisted for this project in early November of 2020, and SRP provided the nation and NTUA with notice of award of this the 200 megawatt project in December of 2020. So this is a 200 megawatt plant. Once again, the same idea where NTUA, the project is located on Navajo in the Cameron chapter. We'll produce 200 megawatts, and we will sell that energy off nation to SRP. And in return, SRP will provide revenue and profits back to the Navajo Nation through NTUA. And what we do is we use that money to connect power lines, our families with power lines and water lines and other necessary utilities. As far as approvals are concerned, NTUA received a chapter resolution approval in 2018. We also did receive a additional chapter supporting our chapter resolution that stated that a supporting resolution in late 2020 as well. We had all the grazing permittee consents were obtained in 2020 and then reaffirmed in late 2020. We obtained all of the necessary biological approvals and cultural approvals, and those are all as part of the packet before you. Benefits to the Navajo Nation and the Cameron chapter and community. This project, we anticipate that this project will create 400 construction jobs with a total payroll of $8.3 million. And just as with the Red Mesa project, NTUA will need to build a substation out in the Cameron chapter area and other basic infrastructure necessities such as improved broadband, water, wastewater, and fiber. So as an example, in the Cameron, in that area, NTUA doesn't, it's APS Arizona Public Service provides electric utility services in some of that area. With this project, NTUA will construct a substation, and NTUA can hook up families that are near the substation, and they can be connected to NTUA system now that we can develop this project. So it'll be quicker timeline for families in the area to receive electrical services in that area. As far as payment to the Navajo Nation or benefit to the Navajo Nation, so as you all probably
Mr. Malemi?
Yes.
Mr. Malemi, the volume on your phone goes up and down, so could you kind of keep it up?
Sure, I'll talk I'll talk much louder.
Thank you.
So the payment to is that better?
Yes.
Okay, if I'm screaming, just let me know as well, because just let me know, okay? The payment to the Navajo Nation, so as part of the closure of NGS, the nation has certain transmission rights. So with this project, NTUA will be paying the Navajo Nation for the use of 100 megawatts of those transmission rights. We are still in negotiation with the nation on that, but the anticipated amount is approximately $3 million that NTUA will pay to the Navajo Nation for the use of the transmission rights, and that is $90 million over the life of the project that NTUA will pay to the Navajo Nation. On the land lease payments, NTUA has agreed to a dollar per acre amount that was proposed by the Navajo Nation Division of Natural Resources. So NTUA will be paying the Navajo Nation $456,500 annually and $13.7 million over the life of the project. Construction taxes, or the sales revenue or sales taxes through construction, is approximately $6 million. So those are going to be the payments to the Navajo Nation through this project, among other things. As I said before, this project will produce at least two scholarships to the local area. We will be working with the Cameron chapter and the Cameron community on any job fairs for this project. So, these are all part of the projects that, the solar projects and the benefits to the local community. I do want to thank once again Division of Natural Resources, Minerals, Land Department, as well as the Resources and Development Committee, Honorable Delegate Walker for his support of this project and moving it forward through the process. We did have a tight deadline to get this approved, and we're actually at the last day. So I just want to thank everybody on that end. I also want to thank Office of President and Vice President for their support of this project, Paul Sanchaco and his team for getting the packet through the executive review process and getting it onto the RDC agenda. So with that, I stand for any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malemi. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any questions or comments?
Shana, I have a question/comment.
Okay, Honorable Stewart, you have the floor.
Biga, Shaja Yate, Aro, and Mr. Malini for NTUA. Thank you for the report and also the updates on this project. My question is with this one, just like the one prior, how many of our chapters in Western would be served from this power, the solar power on both ones, knowing that Cameron is so close to off the res, how many, and then would there be any, I'm sure there'll probably some served off the res, but how many will be served on the res from this one? And that's it. Thank you, Shania.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, you and your
Chairman,
agent
I would have,
respond.
yes, I can have the agent respond. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Malemi.
Sure, yes. Chairman Ez and Honorable Delegate Stewart, so for this, the Cameron Solar Project, the 200 megawatts will be sold and will be consumed off nation, but what the revenues and profits that are generated from this project will serve. We'll be able to serve homes in the Cameron community and the surrounding areas. So we don't have an exact amount of homes that will be benefited from the actual this actual project at this time. Once the substation is built, then we are able to connect families off of that substation. So and that's what we use for all of the for the revenues and profits that are generated will be used partially to connect families to the grid.
Thank you, Mr. Mulamy. Honorable Stewart, do you have a follow-up question?
So no, I don't. So I guess we'll just wait and see how many we can serve. But I was just thinking of that area and the chapter visits that we went to go do at our chapters, and how many of our community members out there and also across in different areas have no electricity, no water hookups and whatnot. So I was looking at that, listening and thinking about them at the same time, and then knowing, like I said, it's so close to being off res. Where would we fit in with the off-res grid as well? That's it.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any questions, comments?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for this legislation. I didn't get a chance to comment on Honorable Charlene So's, which I wanted to, Daisy, on hers as well. But I want to thank Che and as well as NTUA for this investment. As I think of New Mexico's Energy Transition Act, it would be nice to have something like that comparable to the nation. I know we were going to do the energy policy, but that went on the wayside. But understandably, that NQA's power, 40% of it comes from renewable energy already. And that's a large sum of what we use on the Navajo Nation. Majority of it is hydro. And whether that's from Lake Mead or Lake Powell, 40% already that we use on the nation, the NQA buys is renewable. So, a project like this and a project like a Red Mesa, and then you have Kayenta 1 and Kayenta 2, we're talking about clean energy, we're talking about renewable energy, and of course jobs. So I just wanted to throw that figure out there, because the more you think about it, how many users do we have? I don't know how many users we have total, but 40% of renewable makes up a lot of renewable energy, or a lot of energy that is bought by NQA. So, I just wanted to mention that and say thank you again. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. We also have on the line with us Honorable Speaker Damon, who is the co-sponsor of these two legislations, the previous and this one. Honorable Damon, would you like to say a few words, sir? Speaker Damon? None? Okay. Honorable Yellow Hair, you have the floor. Honorable Jimmy Yellow Hair.
Good afternoon. Resource Development Committee, Dr. 24 Navajo Nation Council. On his function at Ani. Juni, Junigo, machine,
Honorable Yellow Hair. Honorable Yellow Hair. Honorable Yellow Hair. I believe he lost reception. Honorable members of RDC. Now I can hear you.
Okay,
go ahead.
Telephones give me problems right here. Anyway, Resource Development Committee at only 24 Navajo Nation Council out on the speak isi Rick Nance, chairperson. Thank you very much. Out of Mr. Walker, Vice Chairman. So my colleagues, 24th Resource Development Committee. Oh yeah, Jesus the NEPA on in up in the Nike. By Kito Yat, the 24 councilmen, Resource Development Committee. I will wish you luck, everything you do for the people. You're doing a good job. It is see you in house. This afternoon, though it was 2 years I don't Halebe in house. I found so no. It ever this thing. That could support your legislation. 100%. Thank you. For here, Chair. It's only chairman. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Honorable Yellow Hair for getting on the call. Thank you. Appreciate your words. Let me go back to the sponsor, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chairman, though, committee members, though the listening audience, legislation, though not all can't she today is Shinanta, his card teacher, though not that is what are you, hinge kid or this, although Chairman Chapter President Charlie Smith in Finland. He's on the call. Although his letter already was included in the legislative packet, and they do have a resolution to chapter local government. I just want to say that for the record. We appreciate their support and their interest in these matters that affect their communities and opportunities that they can see and support with their homeland and their community members. So the former Bennett Freeze area will Yahiki Edo be Kawit Aja. Edo Shin Ashin E Bayat Ehiki Edat Echo Beshichi Adohado Letrono Yahalina Agent Gi APS A cut A Beshichi A Behigin Daz Asian Hate Kutzashin for A cohort echo at A NTU A be the Beshichi E cut A Indesti A Bohanetza, what other Ibajohota, or Hashani, the Quidishin be Yat Eto Lefigi that Ella Koshananta by Bendi Jehigi Edo Shan Hidini Shinanta. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? None? Hakushina. RDC has final approval on this, so Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Okay. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kell votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0057-21. Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Yes, Chairman, committee members, Nana, at legislation, Nahasadot, thank you to the agent NTUA and all that has had a hand in this. OPVP, DOJ, Land Department, and all the our offices that usually process these land documents, and then as well as the Cameron chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. You're doing a good job out there, so yeah, keep up the good work. Honorable members of RDC, we're down to G. Schedule a proposed leadership meeting with IHS, OEH, NECA, Department of Water Resources, and NTUA on all of the Navajo Nation water sanitation system. Recommended date April 9 and April 12. Shananta, before we move on this, I believe all of us received the RDC calendar. Starting next week, the 5th through the 9th, we have a work session, NABI work session on the American Rescue Plan Act every day, including on Wednesday. And then it goes on for the next couple of weeks. The following week, the 19th through the 23rd, is the Navajo Nation Council spring session. The last week of the month for 3 days straight is also another work session. So what is your recommendation? Should we hold off on this until May and cancel the other two on Monday? Monday, we have Office of the Controller and Division of Economic Development in reference to BIDF financial update. On Wednesday, we have the Office of Controller, Department of Agriculture, in reference to the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Also, I believe we need to postpone our meetings for the whole month. I don't know about the travel to Wolf Springs Ranch as well. What is your recommendation, honorable members of RDC?
Chairman Keelan.
Honorable Begay, you have the floor, sir.
Chairman, I guess which one of these work sessions will be overlapping some of the discussion that we'll have at NABI regarding the recovery? I think I would say that meeting with IHS and OEH regarding water line would be much important, because what we would be getting information is what we should be advocating and how much money that we need to receive. Anything just for an update that really doesn't affect for an advocacy of projects that would not getting money funding from the ARA ADG that could be moved into May. Although I would recommend move up the trip to Wolf Spring as well, because if it's that important, maybe just schedule it on a Saturday, on a weekend. That way, the 2 days of Thursday and Friday, we could utilize it for a very important meeting, because there's a follow-up. I mean, there's a Navajo Nation Council session coming up as well. The ADP was something that we could also have the same information be provided through the scheduled NABI work session. Then I believe that we could move some of those meetings into May, but those meetings that relates to some potential funding requests to ARA, then I believe that we need to keep those in line. And so that's my recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. I'm looking at the calendar in front of me. On Monday, it's going to be in reference to water and power infrastructure. So that's very important for Monday's meeting work session. On Tuesday is housing and transportation. Housing, I would say, there will be discussions, as we did yesterday with NHA, and veterans housing, and then transportation is roads. So those two are very important. Aro Wednesday go yashananta. Yes, it's Honorable KL and yes, it's a broadband. That is very important right there on Wednesday. That's during our RDC. What we can still do is have RDC meetings on Wednesdays and just listen in on what's being discussed. We can still have a quorum at the same time because these are work sessions. On Thursday and Friday of next week, the 8th and the 9th is Gaming Compact. I don't know how many of you are on that Gaming Compact that it will impact the work session for us. We could do one on that day, either Thursday or Friday of the 8th and the 9th. And then the following Monday, you have public safety. That's more of and health for LOC as well as HESI. Tuesday, going to Navajo Nation chapters, and we all need to be on that one on the 13th. Although Wednesday we can get on RDC, and then the next day is the economy as well as on Wednesday too. So, Shananda, with this IHSG, the work session, if you want to, we can have it this Friday, if that's enough time for us. It's Good Friday, this Friday. So that would really help to understand also, look at water and power infrastructure on Monday, if you want to schedule it for this Friday. Ms. Begay, do you have any recommendations for us?
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, if you do set it for Friday, most likely people will say short notice. That's going to be what their response will be. I'm not sure how the NABI work session on Monday, the 5th, is outlined for the water and power infrastructure. Maybe you could listen in on that, participate on that work session. And we could look at April 23rd. Normally, Navajo Nation Council adjourns by the 22nd. If the 23rd becomes available, we could ask for a work session on that day with the programs that Kial and Begay had requested for. Again, I think all of the NABI work session are very important, and you all need to participate in it because it covers all the issues for Navajo Nation. And I don't want you all to be missing out on some of these presentations that will be made to the Nabikiate Committee. For the 7th, I would recommend that you only consider the 3 legislation that was deferred by Carl Slater. And that could be done hopefully within a couple hours so that you will be able to join NABI work session again. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments, recommendations, or questions? Shananda.
Chairman.
Monday. Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
Sorry, Chairman. I'm always muted for some reason. I'm over here yelling, Chairman, Chairman. But thank you, Shema. If we could next Wednesday just have those 3 legislations on the agenda and not have any report, we could still have that meeting. That's my recommendation, Chairman. Not to have any reports next Wednesday. Nana, I think we need to all participate in these work sessions because majority of them are RDC or pertain to RDC. And, you know, transportation is huge. A lot of it's infrastructure. Even the broadband is infrastructure. So I would suggest all of us participate in work sessions because this is right up our committee area. And I really want to make sure that our voices are heard in these work sessions as well, specifically for our areas and our agencies. As far as Wolf Springs, I don't know if you wanted to reschedule that, Chairman or colleagues. It's up to you. You know, I don't know. This is probably a question for Mariana. Maybe we could even have a special RDC meeting up there. Have a meeting of some sort, special meeting. And then lastly, wanted to ask about rescheduling the Eastern Ranchers meeting as well. For the fifth time, if we can, Chairman. A real important request. I want to see if we can get that also back on the calendar. So, Eddie, Chairman, colleagues, thank you.
Thank you for that. Honorable Walker, what is your recommendation?
I want to support what Delegate Freeland has stated there. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Stewart?
Chair, I do agree that I think these work sessions that we're having with Nabigiet are a priority right now, knowing that we're going to be dealing with the funds coming in and our chapters to assist them out, and also our divisions and departments as well to get the best recommendations from them and to make sure that we use these monies the right way for the even though it has an extended timeline of 3 years. I think it's going to be better for us to set some goals and priorities with the divisions and departments as well as our chapters. So I would say let's hold off on our work sessions and then just have the RDC meeting for next Wednesday, just to do the legislations and no reports.
Good recommendations. Okay, Wednesday, what we'll do is consider the 3 legislations and no reports, Ms. Begay. Honorable Begay.
Chairman Keelan. Maybe another recommendation is I don't think nothing prevents for the committee to request to start the meeting at 8, and because all these NABI meetings, they're scheduled at 10 o'clock. If we need to, we could schedule. If there's no major conflict, maybe we could request for another special meeting if we need to. The regular meeting is going to be on a Wednesday, and maybe we can request to start at 8 o'clock. Then if there needs to be another one before or after, then we can request to have the RDC meeting start at 8 o'clock. That way we have the 2 hours before the NABI work session. That's another recommendation. Chairman.
Honorable Begay, the calendar states that all these NABI work sessions will commence at 8 o'clock in the morning to 10:45 p.m.
Mr. Chair?
All the yes, Ms. Begay?
Chair? Yes, I was just going to mention that all of the work sessions that are scheduled are beginning at 8 o'clock. And my recommendation to you is that maybe you could meet with Speaker Damon to see if they could move the work session on Wednesday, April 7th to 10 o'clock so that RDC can meet at 8 o'clock, take care of the 3 legislation, then you'll be able to join Nabigia Committee. Mr. Chair.
For Wednesday, our meeting starts at 10, Ms. Begay. So I don't know if it'll make a difference if NABI starts at 8 and we start at 10, or if we ask Speaker Damon to start at 10 o'clock.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you can make that request to Speaker Damon to see if they will be able to move up NABI work session to begin at 10 o'clock. Then we'll submit a memo requesting the RDC regular meeting begin at 8 o'clock to address the 3 legislation. So that way you will not miss any of the work session for NABI, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Begay, what if we have a special RDC meeting on Thursday and we'll cancel our regular meeting on Wednesday? Because I think RDC meetings are entitled to by law at 10 o'clock. Isn't that how it is, Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we can do a memo requesting authorization from Speaker Damon to move our set time by statute to 8 o'clock that morning, Mr. Chair. But if we move it to another date, that becomes a special meeting for RDC. But if we move it around in that same meeting date, it's still a regular meeting, but that only requesting the time to be changed.
Okay, let me go to our legislative counsel, Ms. Khan. Mariana Khan.
Yes, this is Mrs. Khan. The question that you had specifically, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Khan, are you still there?
Yes, now I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. We have an RDC meeting scheduled, regular meetings every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Next Wednesday on the 7th, we would like to request the time be moved up to 8 o'clock and see if we can do that. Is that okay to do by law?
Mr. Chair and members of the Resources and Development Committee, the authority, the meeting date that is set for RDC in the code just refers to the day of the week, and that is Wednesday at Title II, Section 503. Meetings will be held on Wednesdays of each week, except for weeks of regular Navajo Nation Council sessions. And so there's no time set in the code that says it has to be at 10 o'clock. So there is room for you to request that to the speaker that the meeting be allowed to commence at 8 o'clock in the morning on that Wednesday. And it would be a regular scheduled meeting with the provision that it starts at 8 o'clock. And of course, that would need to be put onto the website so that the public knows that the meeting on that day would be starting at 8 o'clock as opposed to 10 o'clock in the morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Ms. Begay, could you draft that memo and change the meeting time to 8 o'clock in the morning? And we'll recommend, Ms. Siako, are you on the line still? What we can do is request that NABI work session starts at 10 o'clock because we really need to move forward with these 3 legislations by Honorable Slater.
Good afternoon, Chairman. This is Melinda. I'm on the call.
Okay, thank you. Did you hear our conversation?
Yes, I'm here in Speaker's office and we are making notes.
Okay, good. Well, we'll send a memo to Speaker Damon on this, see if we can have the NABI work session commits at 10 o'clock in the morning so we can have RDC on that work session at 10 we would like to have our meeting moved up to 8 o'clock rather than 10. And there'll be a memo coming forth from RDC, Ms. Hiako.
Okay, Chairman, this is for the 7th, correct?
Yes, the 7th, next Wednesday.
Okay, then will there be also another request for the following week?
Mr. Chair, I recommend that you do that as well. That way we will have our regular meeting and then you all will participate in the NABI work session.
Okay, that would be perfect. We'll do that. What about the last day on the 28th? Can we do that also? Ms. Begay?
Yes, that would be the day for the meetings with the Nadanis. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off.
That's fine. Ms. Begay?
Yes, you can do that. I'll include that in the memo, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We got that straightened out there. So every Wednesday on the 7th, the 14th, and the 28th, the meeting request will be at 8 o'clock in the morning so we can attend NABI work sessions that begin at 8 o'clock, and we'll ask speaker to change it to 10. Thank you, Sananta. With this schedule meeting with IHS, OEH, NECA, DWR, and NTUA, we can just hold off until the following month. But the one meeting requested by Honorable Begay, we can have it on the 29th or the 23rd. So, Sananta, we can just wait on this one. Ashbiga.
Motion.
Do you concur? Honorable Freeland, you concur? Honorable Stewart?
Yes, I would say muted. I'll be Chairman.
Honorable Stewart?
Great.
Okay. Honorable Begay, do you concur?
Chairman, I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Walker, Vice Chair Walker?
Yes, Chairman, I would concur. Thank you.
Okay. We agree on these, Shananta. But for Monday and Tuesday, my recommendation is to postpone those two meetings because there's two very important topics on for the work session: the water and power line, and where RDC is the oversight over that, as well as housing and transportation the following day. So, ACO, Ms. Begay, if you would, postpone those two meetings. And RDC, what about our travel to Wolf Springs Ranch? Should we postpone? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, what do you think?
Chairman, we can postpone the so. To the I would support it again, postponing, and go with the committee.
Okay, Honorable Begay, would you consider postponing that or keep that?
Chairman, if we're going to postpone it, as I indicated, we can just move it up. If we make, I don't know if there's sufficient time to make arrangement to move them up to Saturday, if not Friday and Saturday. That earlier, that otherwise, postponing is okay with me. But even though if we postpone Ilian, I mean, those dates gonna open up. What other meetings are we scheduling within those two meetings? Those two open dates of this, Chairman.
Okay. Sinanta, since there's two that agree to postpone, we can move it up to the 29th to 30th, and then May 1st and May 2nd. We can do that with the Wolf Springs Ranch, our travel, and then save the 23rd on a Friday for EPA. Bigahia. Concur?
Concur.
What day is it again, Chairman?
The Wolf Springs Ranch, our travel will be on the end of the month. The 29th is on a Thursday. The 30th is on a Friday, and then the 1st and the 2nd of May is on Saturday and Sunday. Honorable Freeland.
Motion.
Shanantai, since we are not going to schedule the G, G's on the agenda, Direct Resources and Development Committee Chairperson Ricky Nez to send a letter to BIA Acting Superintendent Lester Sosi notifying the BIA regarding the holdover of NTEC's lease number 14-20-0603-6447, stating that the Navajo Nation is engaged in negotiations with NTEC regarding the lease, which will be the lease extension. I would like to request for a motion and a second, and then I'll explain.
Motion, Keelan.
Second by
Keelan.
Is there a second?
Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Motion by Honorable Begay and second by Honorable Stewart. This is in regards to NTEC's renegotiation of a lease near APS and where the old office is on the south side of Morgan Lake here in San Juan and in Hanzad community. And they have been negotiating with the Navajo Nation. It expires on Thursday, tomorrow. But this letter sent to BIA, Mr. Sosi, who's on the line with us today, we were just let him know the letter is drafted by our Legislative Council and the Department of Justice, and that letter is required to be sent to BIA to provide an understanding that there will be an ongoing negotiation for a lease for NTEC and the Navajo Nation. What we need is a directive from Resources and Development Committee to concur that it's okay that this letter be sent to BIA to notify them. And I can provide some time to Mariana, our Legislative Counsel, and perhaps she can read the letter. Ms. Khan?
Good afternoon. This is Mariana Khan. Mr. Chair, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Ms. Khan. Proceed.
Okay. First of all, I would like to let you know that the Department of Justice's attorney, April Quinn, is also on the line and is aware of this proposed memo to be sent from RDC to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This particular letter I have sent to yourself, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, and also to Ms. Shami Begay and Ms. Teresa Woody as staff of the committee. The purpose of this letter is to inform the Bureau of Indian Affairs that the Navajo Nation and the Navajo Transitional Energy Company are currently negotiating the lease in question. And it is important to make this communication because the federal regulations require some sort of communication to be made if negotiations are still going forward. And this concerns a legal term called a holdover. The term holdover refers to a situation in which a contract term is coming to an end. And in this case, the term of the contract ends today. And this communication that you would make as RDC members would be to inform the Bureau of Indian Affairs that negotiations are going forward regarding the lease. This will inform the Bureau of Indian Affairs that despite the fact that the term of the lease is coming to an end, that the parties to the lease are negotiating the terms of the lease. This informs the Bureau of Indian Affairs that communication is going on between the two parties and makes the Bureau of Indian Affairs aware that the parties are working together. And this communication it is in the form of a letter, which I have sent to all of you. And I will go ahead and read this letter, which I communicated with the with Department of Justice, in this case, April Quinn, regarding this letter. And she is aware of it and feels that the words used in this letter are sufficient for the purposes of the federal regulations. I will go ahead and read the letter now, Mr. Chair. I hope you all have
Ms. Khan, before you proceed, I'd like to ask everyone if you would please keep your phones on mute. Thank you. Ms. Khan, you may proceed.
Okay, this is essentially a one-page letter, and it starts out with today's date, March 31st, 2021, via email, and the email address is lester.sosi@bia.gov. Address, Lester Sosi, Acting Superintendent, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Navajo Regional Office, P.O. Box 1060, Gallup, New Mexico, 87305. Regarding holdover of BIA lease number 14-20-0603-6447. Dear Acting Superintendent Sosi, I am writing as Chairman of the Resources and Development Committee, RDC, to inform the Bureau of Indian Affairs that the Navajo Nation and Navajo Technical Energy Company, NTEC, are currently negotiating BIA lease number 14-20-0603-6447. The term of that lease is scheduled to expire on April 1st, 2021. The Navajo Nation and NTEC are discussing whether the lease will be amended or whether a whole new lease will be negotiated. Given that negotiations are in process, the Navajo Nation requests that the Bureau of Indian Affairs, pursuant to 25 CFR Section 162.417, treat this memorandum as, quote, notification in writing that the Navajo Nation is engaged in good faith negotiations with the holdover lessee, unquote. When the negotiations are completed, the Navajo Nation will complete its executive review process, after which the RDC will consider legislation to approve the negotiated document. As you are aware, RDC is authorized and empowered to grant final approval for non-mineral leases pursuant to Title II of the Navajo Nation Code, 2 NNC 501B2A. When the legislation to approve the negotiated document is ready for action by the Resources and Development Committee, It will be published on the Navajo Nation Council website, and the date that the RDC will consider the action will also be posted on the Navajo Nation Council website. If you have questions or concerns regarding this written notification of the Navajo Nation and NTEC INTEC negotiations, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Rick Nez, Chairman, Resources and Development Committee. XC, Navajo Nation President Nez, Navajo Division of Natural Resources Executive Director Dr. Rudy Shabala, Navajo Land Department Manager Mike Halona, Navajo Nation Attorney General Doreen McPaul, Chief Legislative Counsel Dana Bob Roth. Members of the Resources and Development Committee, that is the total of the one-page letter, Mr. Chair. And if you have any questions, I will be here on the phone to answer. And also, Department of Justice April Quinn is also on the line, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair,
Khan.
this is actually Director. Does have a comment? Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Solsi.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the committee working on this notification to Bureau of Indian Affairs. It is certainly true what Ms. Khan has stated in terms of the content of the letter. So I just want to briefly mention that under federal regulation 25 CFR 162.471 does indicate in there that basically what the content of the letter would be. But reading the regulations real quick, it says, if a leasee remains in possession after the expiration, termination, or cancellation of the business lease, we may treat the unauthorized possession as a trespass under applicable law in consultation with the Indian landowners. Unless the Indian landowners of the applicable percentage of interest under 162.012 have notified us in writing that they are engaged in good faith negotiations with a holdover leasee to obtain a new lease, we may take action to recover possession on behalf of the Indian landowners and pursue any additional remedies available under applicable law. So that's the provision in the regulation that Ms. Khan is developing the letter for. So I wanted to just basically mention that. The other one, if you may use my acting regional director as the title, if you would like. That's currently my detail at this point to the Navajo region. And the third point is just that normally when we work with the Navajo Nation, as you heard in my reading the provision here, it says landowner. And normally we see the Navajo Nation president, because of the government-to-government relationship that the Navajo Nation and BIA have, we look to the Navajo Nation president as a representative of the landowner. That's for your information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sosi, for pointing that out to us. Ms. Khan, if the letter would be changed as far as Mr. Sosi's title, he's the acting regional director, not acting superintendent. Ms. Khan.
Mr. Chair, that can certainly be made, and the correction can be made before your signature is put on this particular letter, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions on the directive letter to BIA?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland, you have the floor.
Chairman, thank you. Colleagues, Nania, just what Mr. Sosi said, the president would be the one who would sign the letter. So I don't know if my good Che is still on the line. Honorable Milford, maybe we can work with OPDP on that, Chairman, as well. I don't know, just a thought, because of what Mr. Sosi just mentioned as far as the president having the signatory, as far as the representative. Yeah, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mr. Sosi, so the letter needs to be addressed by also a signatory area for the president?
Mr. Chair, I believe that would be sufficient if there was two signatures. Because like I stated earlier, normally, because of the government relationship, we see the president as the representative of the landowner, which is usually troubled trust land. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. We also understand that Resource and Development Committee is the oversight over energy and land as well. So perhaps, Ms. Khan, if you would change the signature block and add President Nez on there as well.
Chairman Kellen.
Honorable Begay.
I think I believe this particular statement is a directive by the committee. Although the position by BIA is indicating of the signatory process, I believe that stated within the third paragraph that the initiation of the 164 process will be initiated because the state okodo jonasos page or the he haki do it na ki chakwa a carbon master to object to help that out in the addition the present because addition did I not so lindy the next date or less. I mean that's my interpretation. Obviously I'm not a lawyer, but I don't know if we need to start putting everyone's name on this particular. I mean we can't force or we can't tell the president what needs to be included in this particular document because we're a separate branch as well, so I think that needs to be understood. Because it's either as a joint, if that's the case, because maybe the speaker needs to be in the position to put the names on there, then the president. But I believe this is directly coming from the oversight committee. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Begay. Mr. Sosi.
Just real quick, in the past, what has happened, again, CIA is in no position to tell the Navajo Nation what to do, but based on previous experience, what we've seen has been that the RDC would pass a resolution asking the president to make that statement, but then the president would then take that resolution and incorporate it into their letter to submit to BIA. So however it's done, certainly up to the Navajo Nation what they want to do. Thank you.
Ms. Khan, what is your recommendation? Or Ms. Quinn, either one of you?
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, proceed.
Okay. Mr. Chair, what is on your agenda is a directive it will be a directive from the committee to you to sign this letter. And Mr. Sosi's comments are very helpful and instructive. However, it is important to remember that the authority that the committee is giving is to you to sign the letter, and this comes through the power of a directive that is in the Navajo Nation Code, that the standing committees have the power to issue directives over what they have oversight authority over. And the Navajo Nation Resources and Development Committee has authority, final authority over the approval of leases. And that is the authority I point to with regard to the authority of a directive to be issued by the committee to you as chairman to sign the letter. It is, of course, up to you as committee members how you want the letter to to be formulated and what you will find. But my instruction to you is that the Resources and Development Committee has the authority to issue this directive to the chairman to sign this letter. But as I point out also, this is your letter, and you could very well leave a position for the president to sign also. But the authority I am pointing to for the authority of this committee is from the directive authority in the code, and this is on the agenda as a directive to you, Mr. Chair, to sign the letter. I will, if you would like additional comment by Department of Justice, they are also on the line. But the authority that is currently being considered and acted upon is the authority of a directive to you, Mr. Chair, to sign the memo. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions on the directive letter?
Chairman.
None. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, thank you, Nana. I guess since Ms. Khan put it that way, and my question is, will the president even sign a letter then? Or would he? And would this letter from Chairman Nez and RDC suffice what Mr. Sosi quoted in 25 CFR 161? ADS Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Pernell Halona has a legislation that's requested from Office of Legislative Counsel for this particular lease for Intech. Now, this lease and all the pertinent documents still need to go through the 164 process. It will go through the president's office where he will have an opportunity to sign off on it and make their comments. And then once the legislation is approved, I'm sure he will probably review it as well. But if RDC has final approval, then we will have final approval. Ms. Khan, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, you are correct. Resources and Development Committee is the final authority, and when the legislation is fully negotiated and the requested legislation, which has been put in by Delegate Pernell Halona, is drafted, it will then go to the Navajo Nation Council's Resources and Development Committee for approval. Provided it is approved, then it goes to the President's office, and there's a particular procedure that the executive branch of the President's office does in making communication with the Bureau of Indian Affairs with a cover letter. That is my understanding, Mr. Chair, and you essentially summarize that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? None? I will go ahead and vote on it. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote, sir?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keller votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels? Are you back?
Which one? Crystal Chapters on the 11th chapter.
Honorable Daniels is excused.
On the 11th? I thought it was the 18th. Okay. Yeah,
please keep your phones on mute. Please keep your phones on mute. Thank you. Honorable Daniels is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries on this directive. Thank you. Aye. Navajo Nation Environmental Protection Agency work session with RDC. Recommended date is April 23 at 9 o'clock in the morning with RDC. We'd like to have a motion and a second.
Motion, Keelan.
Second,
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Honorable Begay and Honorable Freeland. So,
Chairman,
are there any questions?
this is
Yes,
Shammy.
go ahead.
That will be dependent on Navajo Nation Council completing their agenda. If they don't, then the meeting would have to fall in May, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll just set it for the 23rd for now. Any questions or comments, Shananta? We did receive an email from Navajo EPA from Ms. Valinda Shirley on what topics she would like to put on the agenda for that day. Any comments or questions? None? Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green, Chair.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keelan votes green.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. We're on number 8 of our agenda, conclusion of committee meeting. Any other announcements?
Yes.
None? Motion
Chairman.
to adjourn?
Chair.
Who's this?
Delegate Yellow Hair.
Honorable Yellow Hair. Yes, go ahead.
So request to restate your travel to a down in the car. What date have you mentioned? Grab a card to sleep or be in that committee. The rest of the zone that you've been on the regular meeting.
On which meeting, Honorable Yellow Hair?
Travel to Wolf Creek.
This is for RDC only, Shananta, because RDC all have a sleeping bag and everything. We have a camping tent and all. Yeah, I don't think you guys have any. Honorable Yellow Hair, you're going to have to put that on your own agenda if you wish to do so. And our proposed travel is on April 29 to May 2nd. Travel days on the 29th and coming back is on May 2nd.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay. Honorable members of RDC, any other announcements? None?
Motion to adjourn.
Second by?
Freeland.
Any questions, comments? None? Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels is excused. The motion was by Honorable Keelan Begay Jr. and second by Honorable Freeland. The vote is 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. The time now is 2:05 p.m. We're adjourned. Thank you. You all be careful. Be safe out there.
Chairman, committee. Thank you.
Our meeting tomorrow morning is at 8 o'clock with USDOT.